Good morning, dear colleagues and friends, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this international conference celebrating 25 years of development cooperation of Latvia. I'm indeed very pleased to see so many of our long-standing partners being present today. Also, warm greetings to those joining us online. Before we start our opening session of the conference, I would like to remind you that English-Latvian translation will be available during the conference in your headphones and also online. Today we celebrate 25 years of Latvia's involvement in development cooperation. Together, we will look back on the road that has led us here and events that have shaped Latvia's development cooperation policy as it is today. We also wish to look back at what is ahead of us and have a conversation on how we can better promote the achievement of global development goals. Today, we will be together in our discussions. We will share lessons learned and the best practices, as well as our fond memories and future plans. With this, I would like to invite Her Excellency Baiba Braže, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Latvia, to make her opening remarks. Minister, the floor is yours.
Labrīt, good morning everyone here and online. It's my big pleasure to be with you today. And I'm very pleased to welcome representatives from the OECD and ambassadors, especially Ambassador of Ukraine. Good to see you again. And all the colleagues from non-government sectors, private sector, and of course the governments. So today is a day of celebration. It's 25 years of Latvia's development cooperation. We also marked it yesterday by the first ever official visit of an African head of state. The president of Rwanda was here for an official visit with 2 ministers, and we did agree to further our development cooperation with Rwanda. But we also did that in New York, where together with the president, we met more than 80 heads of state and ministers, especially from landlocked development countries in Africa, but also Pacific Island states and states in Asia and elsewhere. So we have come a long way. And we are not the ones to brag about our accomplishments. Or as I remember, one of the ministers told me, you Latvians do so much and you diligently keep silent about it. But today we will mention certain things. So we first became a donor in 1999. We have worked to ensure that there is impact, quality, and effectiveness of what we do. We will continue down that road. We have developed as a strong advocate of democratic transition because we know that that road is possible. We did it ourselves. Remember, out of 106 years of Latvia's history, 50 years we were an occupied country. And there were few people who believed that we will regain independence. So we did that, not listening to those skeptics, analysts, or others. Not only we did that, but we actually successfully rebuilt the democratic institutions, governance, and we are a successful democratic republic. We believe that others can do that too. Sustainable social economic change is a precondition. So that is what we share. One of the most important enablers for us has been digitalization and innovative technologies. Investments in infrastructure, both critical infrastructure, both infrastructure in terms of connectivity, has enabled our economy today to become one of the most connected economies in digital terms, enabling businesses to be successful not only in the region, but also globally. Also, our small size has become an optimal testbed for various digital solutions, not only in public and private, but also in dual-use tech and in public administration. We indeed can share that experience too. The challenge is a digital divide globally. So when we work with the countries in Africa, of course, infrastructure there is not like ours. So we mostly invest in skills through our development projects. Our accession to the EU in 2004 and our experience of transformation on the way also is a source of knowledge that we share with our closest neighbors, but also with those further away, be it in Moldova, be it in Ukraine, in Georgia and other places. In 2016, we joined the OECD, and we are now in the process of becoming a member of the Development Assistance Committee. And that means we will uphold the internationally agreed golden standards of development cooperation. We also are keen to continue our involvement and cooperation in Central Asia. Altogether, from what I mentioned, more than 500 development cooperation projects financed by us here at the MFA have been implemented in more than 20 partner nations. Through these projects, we are committed not only to democratic transition and digital transition, but also solving global issues, including food insecurity and support to victims of violence. For example, Latvian Rural Advisory and Training Center is working to increase food security by supporting sustainable agricultural practices in Rwanda. The overall solidarity that our nation has shown with Ukraine also embraces development cooperation, and that is all to support Ukraine to its victory. So, in Ukraine, the development cooperation has been pushed outside the traditional box. So we have been actively involved in reconstruction in Chernihiv district of Ukraine, and that embraces all government, private, non-government sectors. I would especially like to mention Center Marta, who together with partners in Ukraine are providing practical support for women and girls who have suffered from sexual violence in conflict. So we support rehabilitation, support centers, and Marta does everything it can to alleviate the suffering. Also in financial terms, in 2022, Latvia delivered on its international commitment to devote 0.36% of gross national income to the official development assistance. We don't brag about it, but we take our promises seriously, and we will continue to do so. Also, if we are elected to the UN Security Council next June, we will look and take into account the needs of the countries in various regions. To strengthen and streamline our development assistance efforts, we have established a development cooperation agency. The Central Finance and Contracting Agency is undergoing the final steps for the pillar assessment process of the European Commission. That will enable us to build further partnerships to advance Team Europe development cooperation efforts. I'm sure Zana will explain exactly how important that is. But from me, I would like today to thank you all, to thank you especially the private and non-government sectors for your involvement, for your support, not only to the development cooperation itself, but actually to the objectives that we are trying to reach, whether that's in Ukraine for its victory, our victory, or whether that is for concrete victims of violence, or whether that is for learning skills or providing experience and sharing knowledge. We are not an island, we are all connected, and we all have something to give and something to learn. Thank you. Paldies.
Thank you, dear Minister, for your kind and encouraging words, and also for your personal dedication to strengthen our development cooperation.
You mean me nagging you all the time?
Yeah. That's how it works. And now I would like to ask Ms. Zana Petre, Head of European Commission representation in Latvia, for her introductory remarks.
Labrīt, good morning, dear Minister, Excellencies, colleagues, friends. I think it's wonderful to see you all here for this conference, looking at 25 years of Latvia's development cooperation. And indeed, I think this is the year also when we look at Latvia's 20 years having joined the EU, and this is, I think, another event to see what has happened in those 20 years, but also to look at the way ahead. Yes. Let me touch on three topics on my intervention. First, what has changed during the last Commission mandate? Secondly, what is the thinking for the years ahead? And thirdly, a few words, of course, on Latvia as well. So if we look at the Commission mandate, and which is still continuing, we have seen a substantial shift in the EU's international development policy. And indeed, also, the overall development policy has come a long way during this time, and it has changed substantially the model of cooperation. It has been in line with the global realities and in response to the evolving situation. And we have moved away from this donor-recipient model towards mutually beneficial partnerships that are based on equal footing and on mutual interest. We did see that COVID-19 reminded us that we are all so connected. It also revealed the inequalities, and it showed that low-income countries are struggling harder to recover. And this was the time when Europe developed the Team Europe approach, which allowed to enhance coordination, efficiency, and also our collective impact. And this is how we pool the resources of the European Commission, the resources of the member states, of the financial institutions, but also of private sector and civil society. And it has become the backbone of our engagement with international partners and also the delivery model behind Global Gateway strategy. And here we do come to the Global Gateway strategy that was launched in 2021, and that supports smart, clean, secure investments in digital, energy, and transport sectors that is meant to strengthen health, education, and research systems across the world. Maybe you already noticed that there was a communication that came out only yesterday, and it was taking stock on how this has gone and how this international partnerships as a Team of Europe approach has been put into practice. And we do see that the global gateway was expected to mobilize 300 billion in sustainable public and private investments by the year 2027. And in this period between 21 and 23, it has already been 179 billion in investments in our partner countries. And we have seen 225 different flagship projects. Once again, the money was coming from the European Commission, but also a big amount from the member states, the European Investment Bank, and the EBRD. And of course, the private sector. The private sector is a key player under Global Gateway, as we say that this investment gap is huge and we have to cover it. There are indeed many examples, you can look at this latest communication, and it mentions that the investments in hard infrastructure have gone hand in hand with human development, investment in skills, institutional capacity building, and many other issues. Secondly, I think if we look to the future, we do have now the political guidelines covering the period from 2024 to 2029. And it clearly mentions a need for a new economic foreign policy. And this new economic foreign policy for Europe would encompass economic security, trade, and also investment in partnerships. So talking about partnerships, this means that the intention is to go a step further and to take the global gateway also to a new level, by proposing also a more integrated approach, where we would look at infrastructure together with investment, trade, and macroeconomic support as part of the package. And once again, Team Europe approach in mobilizing member states, public development banks, European Investment Bank, but also private sector is crucial. For the European Commission, we are looking at how to create this long-term and mutually beneficial partnerships. And I think also from my own experience, I think this has been what also is expectation from the partner countries, that they don't want anymore this donor-recipient relationship, but more of a relationship that is based on mutual interests. Yes, so if we look for the future, this means working on areas of mutual interest with the countries from Indo-Pacific, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean, and it means strengthening this cooperation through the Global Gateway. One step further, we have also seen now already the mission letters for the commissioners designate, and it does clarify even the thinking the EU has further. So the intention is to scale up the Global Gateway and to make it a trusted and quality brand. Of course, we cannot apply the same principle to all the countries, so there will be a different approach to the least developed countries, where the focus will be more on vulnerabilities and how to address the conflict and fragility root causes. So there is a lot of thinking also, yes, for the years ahead. Now let me turn to my last point on Latvia. Indeed, it has been 25 years, and it's a good point to stop and to look back and also to look at the future. And also from the Commission perspective, we highly value the contribution of Latvia to the development cooperation that it has made in those 25 years. And also currently, Latvia is active in several Team Europe initiatives covering topics such as digitalization, youth, health and energy, and I think, yeah, you will have a much more detailed discussion afterwards on this contribution. And yes, Latvia has a long-standing experience working with partners, primarily in the neighborhood, Central Asia, but also now we see a lot of new partnerships developed with the Global South. So there are many ways to contribute, and the contribution doesn't need to be only financial commitment. There are also other ways to contribute, such as technical assistance, seconded experts, just to name a few. But this is of particular importance in light of our common efforts to strengthen this enabling environment needed also to implement the global gateway strategy. So I think, you will have a lot of indeed different discussions on the practicalities and how it works, and I think this also could shape your thinking in the future and how to continue for the years to come. So thank you very much, and labu konferenci.
Thank you, Zana, and I would like to use the opportunity to thank you and the European Commission for an excellent cooperation we've had over the years. And now I would like to warmly welcome my former colleague at the OECD and a great friend, Chair of the OECD Development Assistance Committee, Carsten Staur. Carsten, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ivita, and very much thank you to all of you. And it's a great pleasure for me to be here this morning to take part in celebrating the 25th anniversary of Latvian Development Cooperation. It's a crucial global contribution to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and addressing the increasing global challenges of poverty, inequality, and climate change. As the Minister said a few months ago, Latvia formally expressed its interest to join the OECD Development Assistance Committee, and I have been asked to say a few words about the work we do in the DAC and the importance of development cooperation. The DAC, the OECD Development Assistance Committee, plays a key role in guiding and coordinating donor countries' efforts through official development assistance, ODA, as the acronym is, development assistance, development aid. Political rationales for providing development assistance have progressed over the more than 6 decades of international development cooperation. But above all, by supporting long-term economic growth and stability, development aid has been essential in the global effort to eradicate poverty, and it continues to be a crucial source of financing for the world's poorest and most vulnerable, help fostering sustainable development, strengthening governance, and building resilience. The overarching objective of the DAC is to promote development cooperation and other relevant policies so as to contribute to the implementation of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, including inclusive, sustainable economic development, the advancement of equalities within and among countries, poverty eradication, improvement of living standards in developing countries, and to a future in which no country will depend on aid. That's the formal mandate of the committee. Our strength and our primary contribution to this objective is our role as rule maker of ODA, with continuous work to refine the rules and the standards based on the use of data, evidence, and mutual learning with our partners and among ourselves, focusing on transparency, on accountability, and on impact. Participating in the DAC means several things. As a key legal instrument to advance our objective, all DAC members must adhere to and implement the recommendations around development cooperation adopted by the committee since its inception in 1960, and they must commit to use DAC guidelines and reference documents in formulating national development cooperation policies. To do so, the DAC is an excellent place for mutual learning for our networks and communities of practice, some of which Latvia is already participating in, and I encourage you to continue doing so and to expand your engagement with the entire DAC system. DAC members also all agree to report their ODA to the DAC as a cornerstone in the work to understand the evolving trends and themes in development cooperation and inform on better policies. In 2023, we reached a record high level of ODA disbursement of $224 billion, corresponding to 0.37% of the DAC members' combined gross national income. Looking at figures of aid for the last 5 years, even when we exclude in-donor refugee costs, aid related to COVID-19, aid related to Ukraine, we still see an increase in total ODA that is estimated at around 7.5% over those 5 years. Counting in in-donor refugee costs, counting in Ukraine, counting in COVID, of course, this increase is much higher. We also see emerging donors continue to show a keen interest in our work and in our reporting directives. So we are actually reaching out to also non-DAC members. Global engagement is essential for the DAC to advance our work with external partners. In order to influence the global development cooperation architecture, to bring in new emerging providers into cooperation with the DAC, and at the same time to bring experiences from beyond the DAC into the committee in order to share new approaches. This year we have held an Arab-DAC dialogue in Kuwait in May, a DAC dialogue meeting with providers from Latin America in July. These dialogues have been extremely useful and interesting and have shown the value of a broader global engagement and of bringing in more voices into collaboration with the DAC. As I mentioned earlier, Latvia has opened a new chapter in its engagement with the Development Assistance Committee by expressing its interest in joining the committee as a full member. It's a logical continuation of an already long-standing collaborations between Latvia and the DAC. I can share with you that next week will be an important moment for both Latvia and the DAC, as the committee will formally consider Latvia's request for DAC membership and decide whether to launch a review of Latvia's readiness to join the committee. Without preempting the discussion within the committee, I can say that Latvia as an OECD member, and given its long-standing commitment to development cooperation and the DAC for the 25 years of collaboration, is indeed well positioned to make this request and possibly join the OECD DAC committee in the first half of next year. We hope that you will bring your unique experience in development cooperation to the committee, notably in building effective, accountable and inclusive institutions with partner countries. Also the work Latvia is doing to advance gender equality, digitalization, quality education, as well as your experience in support of Ukraine, which will be of high importance to the DAC's work in relation to the reconstruction of this country. Last week in New York, world leaders adopted the Pact of the Future. In this pact, it says in paragraph 2, we are in a time of profound global transformation, confronted by rising and catastrophic risks, many caused by the choices we make. We risk tipping into a future of persistent crisis and breakdown. That's a global background to the work we're doing. Climate change, increasing political tensions, increasing conflicts, increasing economic inequalities, increasing extreme poverty once more. And Latvia joining the DAC at this juncture is an important step in your deeper engagement on that global scene. I look forward to hopefully soon welcoming DAC as the 33rd member of the Latvia as the 33rd member of the DAC, and I look very much forward to our joint collaboration in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karsten. Indeed, it's an honor to have you with us today. Would you all please join me in thanking all three speakers this morning for their valuable contributions and excellent presentations. And with this, I would like to conclude the opening panel. Thank you very much. And now let's move to our first discussion overview of partners, achievements and opportunities for cooperation. And may I ask the panelists to take their place on the stage, and the moderator, good colleague and friend, Aris Adlers. Thank you very much. And I wish you a very fruitful conversation today.